Hi, this is Paul Slack. It's Good News Planet. I'm speaking with Courtney Jones. Courtney actually is the head of Public Affairs Director, Nielsen Managing. Nielsen is the corporation, and you manage community outreach and public relations and diversity efforts. They focus on one of the areas that she's involved with, the state of the Asian American consumer. We're here to celebrate the 34th annual outreach at the Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Festival.
Yes.
Hi, Courtney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, good. Nielsen. Now, I've been a TV guy for 40 years, so I know the name Nielsen very well. First, tell those that don't know the name Nielsen as well as I might, just because I'm in the TV business.
Right.
What is Nielsen?
Nielsen is a worldwide marketing consumer research company. Our research focuses on what consumers watch and what consumers buy. So a lot of people here in the United States specifically know us for the television ratings, which you are intimately familiar with. But we also do research in the online space, on mobile and smartphones, and how people are utilizing those. And also we have a huge division that looks at consumer packaged goods measurements. So when you go to the grocery store or to your local mass retailer and you pick up those purchases, those UPC codes, we look at who's moving the most market share and things like that. So that's what Nielsen does in a nutshell.
All right, beautiful. So now tell us what brings you here to an Asian American Heritage Festival.
Right. Well, we Nielsen have worked with the festival for quite a few years now, and one of my responsibilities is really elevating the Nielsen brand in multicultural markets, and that includes the Asian American Pacific Islander community. So what we do is we partner with organizations like the Coalition for Asian Pacific Americans in these types of grassroots festivals where we can really go out and educate the public about Nielsen, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Because while we don't sell anything directly to the public, all of our research does hinge on the public participating. So we feel that when people know the Nielsen brand, they're much more inclined to participate in the research. So our whole thing is just to come out and educate people on Nielsen and encourage them to participate in the research should they be asked.
I read a little bit about you, and I see that you're not, in addition to being such a good corporate citizen, socially responsible citizen, and you're working with a company that is that way, but you are as well personally. You're a Boys and Girls Club. I know it was a whole bunch of volunteer-isms. How come you do all that?
Well, I think it's, my background, how I was raised, but I do think that when you work and do what you do in your professional life, it's more rewarding if you can also give in your personal life. I have been very fortunate to have amazing people in my life who encouraged me to pursue the things that I was interested in, and I like to just be able to give back in whatever way I can. And as you mentioned, with the Boys and Girls Club, with citizen schools, I like actually working in education with younger kids so that they can see, people who look like them or have backgrounds like them, have succeeded in business doing the things that we love. So
there it is. It's good news. What's good news for you?
Good news for me is, that's a great question.
In any aspect of your life?
Any aspect of my life? Well, I think waking up every morning is good news. You see another day, and that's great news.
It's the best. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared for the last one. That was a good one.
No, that's a great one. I love it. 34th Annual Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Festival. We're here with the Executive Director, Carson Tang. Hi, Carson. How are you?
Hey there.
I know this Carson for a while, and he's really been there for the community. Tell us a little bit about the organization, what's going to be happening, and how you got involved.
Paul, the 34th Asian American and Indian Pacific Islander Heritage Festival occurs in 2 dates this year, May 4th and May May 18th. Those are Saturdays. The first one, May 4th, is going to be in Flushing, Queens, and May 18th will be in Chinatown, Manhattan, both in Confucius Plaza Courtyard and in PS 124.
All right, it's a great organization, and this is the real thing. Tell us some of the kinds of organizations that are connected to this.
Well, the producing organization is the Coalition for Asian Pacific Americans, which is CAPA, which is a 501c3 nonprofit charity, and the other organizations, the nonprofits supported, range from lupus support to family support services, youth services, a whole bunch. And we actually have several hundred nonprofits that support the organization and the festivals, and then of course the sponsors that come in year to year, and the businesses that participate in the event, and then of course the talent, the performers, and the volunteers that are all part of it.
I would say if anybody ever wanted to learn something about the Asian community here in New York or even nationally, this is the place to go, because it's all pamphlets, it's people that really know and care about the community who are connected to this. Wouldn't you agree?
When you look at the Asian American community, it's not made up of just one subculture, say Chinese American or Korean American and Japanese. It's a makeup of a bunch of them, which is Pan-Asian. And so you get this very rich, robust flavor or tapestry from different subcultures of Asia. And what we try to do is bring them together in a big tapestry and present it in culture, arts, and entertainment, all on this one day that we have the festival. And so it actually reconnects the people who are there to their roots, while also expressing their contributions and role in American society, while introducing those people who are not Asian American into the rich flavor of Asian Americans and our talents.
Why, Carson, why'd you get involved?
I got involved because I wanted to give back to the community, being an Asian American myself, as you say, and to also help out with a community that needs the help in being recognized for its contributions, despite all the challenges it's had, all the way from the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act, paper sons, the internment camps, etc. And I think it's time that we coalesce our voices and do more within the community and for the community as I guess a consorted effort amongst many different Asian American communities.
The website is?
The website for our event, as well as information about the Heritage Festival, is www.capaonline.org, CAPAONLINE.org.
All right, last question. What's good news for you, Carson?
Good news for me is that we have a massive event with over 50, 60 performers, artists, folk artists, MCs, celebrities. Actually, this year we actually have a special on-loan exhibit that's here in New York for one day only from Washington, D.C. It's the Remembering 1882, Fighting for Civil Rights in the Shadow of the Chinese Exclusion Act, as well as T.Y. Chang conducting a panel discussion for us of the challenging journey of Asian Americans, and then Richard Louis from MSNBC also doing a workshop, an empowerment workshop for young Asian American professionals, as well as other people who are not Asian American, on speaking up.
All right, Carson, good man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Coming up is the 1882 Exclusion Act, and very few Americans knows about that part of our history, and also a lot of Asian Americans do not know anything about the 1882. So one of the things that I hope this is a precursor, because New York Historical Society has been working with us about mounting next year a major exhibit, including that as part of the history. Most of you, I'm letting out the secret now, but they've been working on it for quite some time. You know, Louise Mira, who's a former executive vice chancellor of CUNY, is now the president of the New York Historical Society, and she's been working with I'm Pei Sun and Oscar Tang and Henry Tang and Bill Moyers and Judy Moyer, as well as Rick Burns from the Ken Burns series. They are going to work on this major exhibit. So I hope this gives a taste, a glimpse. As you know, when the Chinese built the railroad, when it comes time to the Continental Railroad, Intercontinental Railroad met, cross-continental red, we're not even in the picture. And so that is something that is unfortunate. Much of our history, I think what we really need to do as a community is really getting out the stories. I have said this again and again. from holding the world's record on carving a grain of rice. You know, the Guinness Book of World Records on carving character, not ABC, on a grain of rice to retire NASA Chinese astronauts. Much of our own history we do not know, let alone here. And the hidden history that's here, I was just coming from the 5 points about, you know, they were complaining about rats. I said you should see what Charles Dickens wrote about the rats in City Hall. So we tend to repeat again and again, not recognizing our history, and it's an unfortunate tragedy. And so this is, I commend this entire group for doing this type of exploration, and they're deep down in many layers, and it's not easily understood. And we should be very proud of our contributions. You know, part of the infrastructure that our forefather laid the railroad tracks is what facilitated the growth, the rapid expansion. You know, you can ship resources and talent, and this is the part that most people did not realize until Sandy hit. If you look at Sandy, that's when you appreciate infrastructure investment, right? When the subway is paralyzed, then you find out this city cannot accommodate 5 million vehicles coming into the city, right? You'll be lucky if you have 1 million vehicles coming in, and that's the limit. And then you find out you need water, right? And that's where you appreciate why the Romans built the aqueduct, why the Croton Reservoir was such a contribution to the city. And then you need balance. You know, you recognize that the air that we breathe on the Central Park. So part of it is really takes a thing, and that's a little bit fundamental what we're trying to do. The An Lee story, the struggle, the human potential that's here for many, many years that's not told. And you know, and I hope in due time people will understand, appreciate the usefulness of a business improvement district. Look at South Street Seaport. South Street Seaport, 85% of the store not open. And imagine 80 stores that do not know your neighbor and all of a sudden need to organize and calling the same community board and just say, I need help, I need help. And there's no organizing. And so we are just barely starting this infrastructure because Sandy hit us. And the infrastructure that we're trying to build, the baby barely put on its diaper. It has not started rolling out yet, and so it's not learning how to crawl yet. But you know, we're in this together. If anything, any disaster proved to us is that we rise and sink together, and I hope that we can work together as a team. Partnership is our middle name, Chinatown Partnership Corporation, and we believe in alliances, we believe in supporting. One of our most powerful weapons that you are underutilizing is one click of our button. 5,000 subscribers, 5,000 households get it for free. We've been promoting Mika, we've been promoting any community events. Any community organization that wants to let us promote the event, let us know. It's free. And these are people that are of interest, cookies on the subscription list. And you know, people that wants to know about our community, shares a passion about what this community has to offer is on that list. And so, and it's building every day. So utilize our services, get out our stories, much of what we know. You know, this is a country of 400 years. We have a library of 4,000 years old. And so you can see the contrast, how much it has to be told. And that's why I'm glad the videographers are here, the photographers are here. We need to document it and tell the story. And that's why I'm so appreciative of the media. And so, Cousin, thank you for doing this. And I want the speech long enough. Okay. Thank you very much.
Wanted to let you know, just wanted to let you know, baby. You got the best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. I got the best of you. You got the best of me. I got the best of you. You got the best of me. I got the best of you. You got the best of me. I got the best of you. You got the best of me. Hold on, slow down, no rush, what now? Love, trust, fight, fuss, hold on, oh wow. How this all just happened so fast, you made me burn, you made me crash. That was your first, you were my last, I guess I fell in love that. Fell in love that smile, fell in love the way you laugh, fell in love your style, been the distance with the mixes, listen, it's been mine and mine. All that passion we outlasted, so it's gonna be a while. Through the thick, yeah, through the thin, you kept it up, we got it in like 2 p.m. again, you and I, sentiments, truly fly, heaven sent. We do things that these other lovers haven't even yet. That's right. I know you want that endless dream, girl. The rest of your life. But I'ma do you better, babe. Give you the best of your life. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. Best of you, best of me. I got the best of you. I got the best of you. You got the best of me. I got the best of you. You got the best of me. I got the best of you. You got the best of me.
Chinese women, to be specific, realize that if they're celebrating Black History Month, there should be an equivalent for Asian Pacific Americans. Now, they decided on May because of two very important dates. Number one, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed on May 10th, 1869. The second was there was an official agreement between Japan and the United States to allow immigrants from Japan to come. So those are the two primary reasons why May was picked as opposed to any other time. Now, Wellington Chen from the Chinatown Partnership and the Chinatown Business Improvement District mentioned the exhibit, remember 1882. Most Chinese were not born in this country, probably never heard about the Chinese Exclusion Act. That was the first piece of legislation by the United States to exclude a nationality from entering the country illegally. My father disregarded that act and came anyway in 1929. So this act, Chinese Exclusion Act 1882, was in effect for about 68 years until 1968. It was only after the end of the Second World War when the United States and China were allies that they allowed a limited number of Chinese to enter. And it was about 100 or 105 after 1945. So between 45 and about 68, very few Chinese were able to enter. Now, what's important is that there's a growing immigration debate in the United States about how and why people who have entered the country illegally should spend some time and register and so forth. But this is a land of opportunity. It should be open to all immigrants, regardless of where you came from. The exhibit, remember in 1882, was actually sponsored and conceived by the Chinese Historical Society in San Francisco. Now, I would hope that the Chinese New York Historical Society is doing an exhibit on Chinese Americans would have some aspect of that next year when they do the exhibit. However, there are a number of things that even myself, as a Chinese American, I'm an ABC from NYC. So for those who are not Chinese, ABC means American-born Chinese, as opposed to an MIT or BBC, or I use the entire alphabet to identify Chinese. So if you're from the mainland, I use the term XYZ, because all the romanization of Chinese from Beijing uses the letters X, Y, and Z. But what's actually even more important as the festival goes on is the history of Asian Pacific Americans in this country. I doubt if even the people from the Chinese daily newspapers know that the first Chinese newspaper in America was started in New York City. And the fellow's name is Wang Chun-Fu, okay? He was advocating for the abolition of the Chinese Exclusion Act as early as 1892. So that would have been about 10 years after the act went into effect. And he actually used the term Chinese American. But because he was more of an orator and a writer about the human rights, civil rights abuses among Chinese, the paper never flourished. But he continued to talk, and he passed away at the age of 51 in 1898, around the same time that the United States acquired the Philippines, Cuba, and Hawaii. So, if you talk about immigration, I think it's the 14th Amendment, in which a Chinese American by the name of Wong Kim in San Francisco challenged the Supreme Court, stating that if an individual is born in this country, he or she is an American citizen by birth. Now, that's one of the issues that is being contested in Congress right now. But the 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendment was established right after the Civil War. But up until that time when Wong Kim challenged his citizenship, those were meant primarily for African Americans, not for anybody else. So there's really a lot of history that doesn't go on during the festival where you appreciate, but it's important that you take a look at this exhibit for what it is and learn from the abuses of the past so we can move forward as a very diverse country. Thank you.